I'm Dan Barker.
I'm Laurie Gaylor, and we're pleased to have in studio with us a mother, an atheist, a courageous state church plaintiff, and now a champion of the First Amendment, Marie Schaub of Pennsylvania. Welcome to our show, Marie.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you have had quite a story since 2012 as a litigant in a Freedom from Religion Foundation case. And you're small of stature, but you have managed to move a 2-ton religious monument from your daughter's high school. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And you want to tell us something about the background of this case?
Sure. My daughter and I encountered the monument before we were residents of the district. So we knew that it was there. But years after that, we decided to move to the school district, completely forgot about the religious monument for a while. But once she entered the middle school in that district, I knew that it was only a matter of time where she'd be encountering the monument on a daily basis.
And this is a 10 Commandments monolith, and it's like 6 foot tall, and it was on the front of Valley High School in, what's the name of the school district?
It's the New Kensington-Arnold School District, and yes, it was prominently placed right in the front of the building, which I guess was an entrance to the gym, and it's been there since the 1950s.
And it says, I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods besides me. Right?
Correct, yes, and it goes on like most of the 10 Commandment monument, but it does omit the graven images, so that was a little bit weird.
Oh, really? Because that's the Catholic version. There was a Protestant version that has the graven image, and the Catholic version takes off the graven image because it is a graven image when you think about it.
Right, exactly.
So Marie, you are a very outspoken atheist. Have you been a lifelong atheist? How did you come to that?
Well, I was born an atheist, just like you and everyone else was. And I wasn't raised in a severely religious household, but my parents did encourage us to go to church. And so even whenever I was younger, I knew that it was just a bunch of, nonsense. And I just thought that everybody was pretending, and I felt that it was weird for adults to still be pretending.
So for somebody who wouldn't really understand, why are you so offended at this idea that your public school would have a 10 Commandments monument that you couldn't ignore?
Well, it's really hard to explain to a group of people who are in the majority because they don't understand how it feels to be a minority whenever it comes to these sort of religious things. So the only way I can sort of explain it to them that they might understand would be if, say, a person of color was going into a school every single day that had flown the Confederate flag, or maybe a Jewish kid going into a school every day that had a swastika on display. Now, while the flag and the swastika may not be physically harming that child, it's just the message that it sends, and people might not think that the 10 Commandments are a negative message, but whenever you come from a family who doesn't believe in those sort of things, it certainly is a cause for concern for our family.
Because if you don't believe in that God, there's hellfire, right?
Right, exactly. And I respect people's rights to believe in whatever they want, even if their belief is that our family should burn in hell for all eternity. They're certainly welcome to believe in pink unicorns if they like, but I'm not going to support those sort of beliefs with my tax dollars or in any other way.
And to have your daughter have to go to school and walk past this monument that tells her she's the wrong religion, she's supposed to worship another god. So this was a very egregious violation. When the Freedom from Religion Foundation heard about it, in fact, there were 2 monuments in Pennsylvania, we thought we would write a letter, Marie, and they would come down. And that is not what happened. So you want to kind of describe what happened next?
Sure. Well, whenever I realized that my daughter would eventually be going to that school and I heard that FFRF was looking for other plaintiffs in the area, I thought that my name would get lost on a long list of other participants. You know, I thought your phones were already ringing off the hook, and I never ever expected all of this attention, you know, whether it be negative or positive. And so whenever I found out that we were the only ones, you know, my family in the community who objected to this, I kind of felt a little bit alone at the time.
Weren't there others who objected but they didn't want to be public?
You know, my family was the one who did object, and my sister joined me in the complaint whenever we originally filed, but ultimately they decided to just leave the school district.
And you were already publicly identified. You'd already spoken out against this, so I think, Marie, you thought, well, the cat's out of the bag, I might as well keep my name on the legal complaint. So you were the only identified plaintiff in this lawsuit.
Yes, and I think it's just in my nature to be outspoken. I've kind of always been a feisty little one, you know, growing up and whatnot. So I knew that if we were to proceed as with pseudonyms, then it would be really hard for me to keep the cat in the bag, so to say. So rather than cause any sort of hardship on Patrick and the other legal staff here, I just decided to go named, which, you know, now I might be second guessing that decision, but I definitely don't regret getting into the fight.
You can't turn back now.
Right, exactly.
Well, now you've won, so,
yes.
And everybody loves a winner, hopefully. But in 2012 then, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, with you as the named plaintiff and a couple of other unnamed plaintiffs, including your daughter,
yes,
filed a lawsuit in federal court, and it was huge. Do you want to talk about the death threat that you got and what happened on Facebook?
Right. Well, you know, a lot of people in the community, they seem to be really upset over something that they claim that most people haven't even noticed was there, you know. So a lot of people were posting negative things online, letters to the editor. Almost every other day there was another letter to the editor, and people complaining about my complaint. And yes, we did receive some death threats that our family should be taken out in the street and shot. And
this is extraordinary. I mean, there's a lot of nasty crank mail that we get at the Freedom from Religion Foundation, but something that explicit, we were very concerned, of course. And how did you feel?
Well, you know, I was concerned as well, and I never thought that I would need my Second Amendment to protect the First, but, you know, it's sad to say, I've been doing laundry carrying around my .38 at times, you know, and the kids have been getting bullied at school, well, from the other school, you know, rumors going around that they're going to burn our house down and whatnot, you know. But
and didn't the superintendent contribute to this? I think there was a line you said that he took to Facebook like Trump takes to Twitter.
Yes.
So he was immediately inflaming the situation.
Right, and that's another reason why I chose not to send my daughter to the high school, because not only the kids and the rest of the students, it's like if an administration is going to come out in such, you know, opposition of following the law, then I don't want my daughter to go to any school like that.
We'll be back with more Free Thought Matters after this.
Hi, I'm Ron Reagan, an unabashed atheist, and I'm alarmed by the intrusions of religion into our secular government. That's why I'm asking you to support the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest and most effective association of atheists and agnostics, working to keep state and church separate, just like our founding fathers intended. Please support the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
To clarify, your daughter was due to go to Valley High School. She was going to be a freshman or a first-year student, and you pulled her out.
Yes.
At the time of our lawsuit, and then that became a legal complication. Do you want to talk about that?
Right. Well, we started this lawsuit when my daughter entered the middle school, and we knew that it would take some time to get through the courts, and thought that maybe we brought it a little too premature after the first judge said that we didn't have standing. But once she got of age to go into the high school, we had a tough decision to make, really, whether we should send her to this high school that condones this sort of behavior, or to go out of our way to avoid the monument, possibly cause a problem with standing, and send her to a neighboring school district, which ultimately we decided to send her to the neighboring school district where her father lives.
So because to establish standing, you have to show that you have exposure or repeated exposure to this monument, and if you're avoiding it, then you wouldn't show the injury as much, right?
Right, exactly. I kind of thought maybe, it would be a problem for us, but after going through the courts and going to the Court of Appeals, and, that 3-panel judge agreed with us.
Because actually it strengthens your standing that you had to go out of your way to avoid being offended by this monument.
Right, and that's exactly what they said.
But Marie, you had encountered, and your daughter had encountered, this Ten Commandments monument, because there have been some events that I understand you'd had to attend at the high school and when she was in the lower grades.
Right, exactly. And that's when they kind of made the case start, is whenever my daughter and I originally encountered it. And they actually said that she was too young to understand what harm was being done. But as a parent, it was within my rights to make these sort of decisions to have her avoid that.
Now, this case got very complicated because sort of an invasion of privacy for you that was different than anything that the Freedom from Religion Foundation had encountered before because of social media. Right. So there was kind of an invasive quality in that your Facebook posts were subpoenaed. Mm-hmm. So what was that like?
Well, not only was my Facebook account handed over to our attorneys, also my email, my text, anything that had any reference to do with the monument case at all needed to be given over to the attorneys. And I understand that it's a necessary invasion of privacy because not only were my messages handed over, also the school district, the superintendent, his emails were subpoenaed, and so it kind of
discovery on both sides.
It was a two-way street there. So yeah, it was a little bit invasive, but again, I think that it was really a necessary part because we also got some dirt dug up on them as well.
So I think they were trying to make a big deal out of something that you posted at Christmas time. Do you remember? It was weird.
Yeah, their attorney was a little bit weird to begin with, I'm not going to go too much into that. But he would make comments about, well, you posted Merry Xmas or something during the Christmas season. How can you be offended by this? Which, I also posted Happy Hanukkah and, Happy Halloween and whatnot. It doesn't make me this or that. I just acknowledge that other people celebrate at these times of year.
They were trying to say, oh, you're posting something religious, so why are you complaining about a religious monument? I think
right.
Exactly. The very weak argument they were making.
Yeah.
And so this was in federal court in the Western District of Pennsylvania. And New Kensington Arnold School District is very near Pittsburgh, isn't it?
Yes, it's about 20 minutes north of Pittsburgh.
So we drew a federal judge, his name was Judge Terrence McVeary.
Yes.
And so what happened in 2015?
Well, I believe that, wasn't that the time that he decided that the monument in Connellsville was unconstitutional.
That's another school district.
We had a twin companion case,
right?
Similar situation at a junior high school, and we won that case. And then we were so shocked when the same judge threw out this case saying you did not have standing because you had withdrawn your daughter from the school district.
Right, which obviously he was wrong.
Yes, and we always knew that we would appeal this, but of course you were that was a blow. Really, yeah, it was, but Patrick downstairs, he, set my mind at ease and said, it doesn't matter if we won at this level or if they won at
this level, either side was most likely going to appeal, and we would have been in the same place regardless. So, but I was really happy you guys cooperated.
So Patrick is Patrick Elliott, one of our attorneys.
Yeah, he
who
was
worked with
co-counsel in the case and working with the litigation attorney in Pennsylvania, Mark Schneider.
Yes, that's correct.
So, so we appealed, and I'll let you give the good news of what happened in August of 2016.
It's McVery good news.
Very good news. Well, that was that's pretty good. In August 2016, we had a decision by the Third Circuit Court of Appeals.
Yes, that was very exciting and took a huge relief off of my shoulders, because I've known for a long time that we were going to win this regardless, and it's always been, just a matter of time. So I was really excited to hear that all three of the judges unanimously decided that I had standing. Now, they said that my daughter didn't have standing because she was only 6 or 7 whenever we first encountered it, and they said that she didn't understand it enough. But it was at that time that I knew it was just a matter of time.
So when that decision came down, it went back to the same judge, Judge McVery, who had ruled in our favor in the other case.
Right.
So, of course, what that did was encourage the school district to settle.
Right.
And that is what happened in February of 2017. So it's been a great fight. I mean, imagine 5 years of litigation just to see justice. And of course, when we started this lawsuit, we thought it would be so easy because there is a Supreme Court decision explicitly saying you can't have 10 Commandments posted in public schools. So we never thought a huge monument would be so hard to move.
Stone versus Graham, right?
Stone versus Graham.
Yes,
And
yeah.
so what has happened to that religious monument that used to be in front of your daughter's high school?
Well, they have relocated it to an appropriate place. It's a Catholic school that is in a very visible location. So I'm hoping that every time someone drives past it in its new home, that they'll remember the importance of separation of church and state.
And this is a win-win, isn't it? Because those people who support it, they get to display it on their property. So they have won,
Yes.
and the taxpayers and we non-believers have won as well.
I agree. I don't see how anybody could be upset about this decision, because it's not like I blew it up or, took a sledgehammer to it. It's just relocated, and I think everybody should be happy that it is where it is now. The community can enjoy it. People who are, non-religious can be reminded of the fight that we had to go through in order to get this monument relocated. And it's just a shame that the school wasted so much time and money on something that they knew was unconstitutional, yet they just pandered to the voters because the majority of them are obviously religious.
We'll be back with more Free Thought Matters after this.
I'm Charlotte, and I'm an out-of-the-closet atheist. I've always been intrigued by religion, and when I was younger, I desperately wanted to be religious, to be more accepted by my family, who was in majority Catholic. My parents didn't raise me religious. I was never baptized. I never took communion. Well, once I took communion, it was a pretty bad idea. I don't think it was worth a church full of angry elderly who glared at me as I waved the communion wafer back and forth, asking my grandma what should be done with it. Also, the wine was pretty gross. From this experience and countless others, I came to 3 conclusions that sort of dictate how I live my secular life. One is that I find people of faith to be more exclusionary and less accepting. 2 is that I would rather work to please the people around me who I care about than someone who, to my knowledge, doesn't exist. And 3, that I would rather help people than pray for them.
And your community is very conservative.
Yes,
So I mean, there were marches, there were rallies. Didn't people put up mini Ten Commandments markers in their lawns and so on?
Yes, it's a bit funny because, the neighbor across the street, he had his little cardboard cutout of the Ten Commandments, and we ultimately ended up moving, to another part of town, to the next town over, actually, and the word got out, who was moving in. So anytime I need to find my new house, all I have to do is look for the cheap cutouts of the Ten Commandments in the yard next door, and I immediately know that I'm home. I mean, I pulled out of the driveway the other day, and somebody yelled out, out of their car window that God is alive, and I'm just ignored them and kept on going about
Yeah, but
my
you're
way.
staying in town. In a lot of these cases, in some of our own cases, the plaintiffs actually were either run out of town or they decided to leave town. But you're staying, basically.
Right, yeah.
Well, and Marie, that is why the Freedom from Religion Foundation did give you our Atheist and Courage Award in 2016, because you have put up with so much. And of course, you don't care if your neighbors have Ten Commandments cutouts on their lawn, but it can't be a very friendly environment. Yeah. It's not, it's not an inclusive message. It's like telling atheists they're not very welcome. So you have a lot of courage.
It doesn't upset me one bit, and I just want to let them know that I think it's kind of silly, but it's within their right to put whatever they want on their private property. I'm like, you could plaster your house and crosses if you want and whatnot, but it just doesn't belong at the public
So
school.
in America, we have the right to be silly. Right?
Yeah, you can have the right to be as offensive as you want on your own property.
So I think we're just about out of time. What would be a message that you would give to somebody, another freethinker, atheist, agnostic, who encounters religion in government or in their public schools, about fighting that?
Well, I would say to reach out to the proper channels. Don't take matters into your own hands, and just leave it to the professionals. If you see something, say something.
Well, Marie, we want to congratulate you. It is a really thrilling victory after all these years that you prevailed, and that other school children aren't going to be forced to walk by biblical edicts just to get to their secular high school. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Marie Schaub for her very brave work to keep state and church separate. Next week on Free Thought Matters, we will meet the sculptor Zenos Frudakis, who made the statue of Clarence Darrow that the Freedom from Religion Foundation erected at the site of the 1925 Scopes trial in Dayton, Tennessee. Here is a brief preview of what we will be talking about with Zenos Frudakis.
In 1925, Dayton, Tennessee was a sleepy little southern town with a religious reputation. At the time, it was illegal in Tennessee to teach the theory of evolution in schools. Several city leaders decided to make Dayton the test case for this law, recruiting high school science teacher John Scopes as the defendant. The case attracted national attention. The famous lawyer, fervent Christian and former presidential candidate William Jennings Bryan volunteered to help in the prosecution, while the American Civil Liberties Union recruited populist firebrand Clarence Darrow to act in Scopes' defense. Held in the oppressively hot summer of 1925, the trial took on a circus atmosphere, and it brought Dayton the business and media attention it so craved. While the case was decided in favor of the prosecution, it was later overturned on a technicality. William Jennings Bryan died 5 days after the conclusion of the trial. In 1930, a group of Christian leaders established Bryan College in Dayton in his honor, and in 2005, a statue of Bryan was erected on the lawn of the Ray County Courthouse, where the trial had taken place. The omission of a Clarence Darrow statue was finally remedied in 2017. The Freedom from Religion Foundation commissioned noted sculptor Zenos Frudakis to create a bronze likeness of Darrow, which was dedicated in a ceremony on July 14th. FFRF co-president Laurie Gaylor addressed the assembled crowd.
We are here, of course, to celebrate the unveiling of the missing link at the Ray County Courthouse. Clarence Darrow believed you can only protect your liberties in this world by protecting the other person's freedom. You can only be free if I am free.
FFRF co-president Dan Barker quoted Clarence Darrow.
An idea is a greater monument than a cathedral. So we have some monuments today for these two great men, and it's the ideas that they stood for that keep America great. We are a proudly rebellious country. We fought a revolutionary war that kicked out the sovereign, the top-down authority telling us, here's what you must think. None of us wants to be told what to think. We want to be free to think for ourselves. The great American experiment that allows all of us, no matter what our position is, to believe, to not believe, to be political or not. Clarence Darrow, William Jennings Bryan, bravo.
University of Idaho Dean Andrew Kirsten is a Darrow biographer, and he pointed out that for all their differences, Darrow and Bryan were still friends.
Darrow and Bryan at various moments were in and out of touch with American politics for most of their lives. Yet neither of them ever abandoned their basic agreement that our system of governance should work for everyone, not simply those who have more than others.
Actor John Delancey portrayed Clarence Darrow for 3 years in a traveling stage play. He minced no words in defining the importance of the Scopes trial and the Ray County Courthouse.
But in the world of the religious versus the secular, this is ground zero, the epicenter. And now that Darrow has taken up his rightful place along with Bryan, the debate can be heard by all.
Sculptor Zenos Fridakis had the last word before the unveiling.
Oh, I hope that you like it, and I think it's a nice companion piece, and if it helps with great discussion and conversation, I think that's great.
While the drape hit some snags while being removed, once it came off, the assembled crowd all cheered the likeness of the great lawyer, Clarence Darrow, who will share the lawn of the Ray County Courthouse with William Jennings Bryan for decades to come.
Well, now you know the story. Next week, we will meet the man who made that statue. Thanks for joining us on Free Thought Matters, and we'll see you next week.